joining us for another live episode with my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Leah. Hello, Leah.
Hello, Dr. Tejada. So happy to be here, and I'm really excited to talk to our guest today about the introduction. Then we'll get right into it.
So excited and happy to have Dr. Sheila Tejada joining us today. Sheila is currently the Director of Computing Savvy Research Group, which she started as a professor at the University of Southern California here in Los Angeles. Dr. Tejada teaches courses and performs research applying artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robotics in education. In 1993, Dr. Tejada received her Bachelor of Science degree in computer science from the University of California, Los Angeles. Go Bruins, me too. She was awarded her master's and doctorate degrees in computer science from, University of Southern California. I got so excited about the Bruins, and now I'm going to University of Southern California, respectively. So she's developed award-winning robots, such as the robot soccer team Dream Team. That was the first world champions at the RoboCup International Robot Soccer Competition in Japan. Hello. And she also chaired the Grace Hopper celebration. So we've got a lot to talk about here. One of the interesting things I learned about just before we went live is that she's also researching how large-scale artificial intelligence might impact our everyday lives, the lives of women, and the lives of people of color. So it's going to be a really interesting conversation that we have. I also want to introduce our panelists for today that are also joining us in the conversation. First up, we have Tim Griffin. Go ahead and say hello, Tim.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's good to see y'all again.
Tim is a regular with us and is a retired STEM teacher, an award-winning singer, songwriter, and storyteller, and the founding director of Griffin Ed, a nonprofit team of educators and musicians that are dedicated to raising academic achievement in STEM and other subjects through fun musical education. Always a pleasure to have Tim join the conversation. I'd also like to introduce Dr. Mark Riddle. Hello, say hello.
Hey, good to see you folks again too.
Dr. Mark Riddle has degrees in music, theology, and sociology. He also works at West Coast University and is a local for us. We're broadcasting from Los Angeles, also from Los Angeles. Well, there you go. That's our panel, and we've got our special guest. This is going to be a great conversation. Leah, I'm going to throw it to you to get us started.
Excellent. Well, Sheila, we met a few years ago in all of the DIY world. You came out to our warehouse and did a project at one point. I'm wondering what you think the upside. I mean, there are so many obvious challenges as a result of the pandemic, but what are the possible upsides of this pandemic, or at least for education coming out of it?
So yes. Well, just also to plug another event that I'm doing next Wednesday, actually, is about resilience in STEM, and it's for the mayor's initiative called We STEM LA. So I can send you that information, but exactly, it's about resilience, and this is the mindset that you need to have in order to have resilience. Is when something happens, what are the opportunities? I believe this is also a Chinese proverb too, is right, that a crisis is an opportunity. And for me, as an educator in artificial intelligence and computer science, I think right now, I don't think I can find anyone who would say that technology is not a critical part of our everyday life. Right? I mean, we can see how much it affects everything we do in every way, right? And it's actually, yeah. And also, so it's not that you need to be a tech person or you need a degree, but you need to know about technology. You need to know how to use technology, right? And so, I mean, that's partly why the phone, right? This has taken off so much that, I mean, it's wonderful that you can see it when children and grandparents who don't use technology still find a way to do this because there's a reason, right? I mean, I think that's when things actually get adopted. It's not for, is it cool, but does it help you achieve things that you need in your life?
I guess we really have been forced to sort of bring everybody up to speed on how that can help our lives.
So this is, I think of it as the silver lining is this: I don't need to convince anyone as a computer science educator that I don't need to convince anyone that you should know about technology, right? And not just how to use it, but how it works. And not only how it works, but how you can create it, and how you can create technology, not only to solve your problems, but also to help your community. So this is something that I've been trying to do, especially since I moved back to LA. I've wandered around a bit. I mean, I've been on an adventure. I'm a native Angelino, which is unusual.
Rare, yes.
My mother was born here also, so I'm a, multiple generation. And but my first faculty position was in New Orleans, and then I moved to New York after Hurricane Katrina closed Tulane University down. And when I first moved back here and was a professor at USC, I went back to my alma mater high school, which is an all-girls school, Marlboro High School for girls, and wanted to offer internships for girls there, because that is actually how I really got started. Was parents at Marlboro High School, one who worked for Teradata, gave me an internship. And so I started having a summer internship. This was 2012. And up until that time, I really didn't focus on only girls' computer science education. But in case you don't know, Marlboro High School, it's been around over 100 years. I'm part of the 100-year class.
Graduating class. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and so there was no computer science. There's no AP computer science. I was so shocked. They had a whole new building, but no computer science. And I mean, for me, I mean, partly that's why my parents sent me there, is because, well, I fell in love with R2-D2 when I was 6. And so that just started my whole long love affair or adventure with trying to find or create the cutest robot, right? And so going to Marlboro helped me with that. I took the AP computer because they required everyone to have a computer. They had a computer lab. I took AP computer science when I was in 10th grade. I already knew how to program multiple languages by the time I graduated. They had to invent classes for me because they ran out. And so I was so disappointed, right, that there wasn't computer science for even like the top level of education for women. So it's not, for women, it's not, all women are disadvantaged at this point in computer science education, for sure. And so I would hope the silver lining, to get to that back again, is that now everyone realizes how much technology is a fabric now of the world. And even before the pandemic, we need to have double, even before the pandemic, we need to have double the workforce in computer science, right? But we have like less than a quarter of the current workforce, less than a quarter, like probably now even less than that, maybe even like 20% are women of the current workforce. Okay, so I work with an organization called the Anita Borg, AnitaB.org. It was founded by Anita Borg in 1994. Yeah, that was crazy because that was my first year that I went to the event that she put together, which is now the largest women in tech event in the world. And in '94, it was 500 women, right? That was the largest group that I've ever been to. And that was right before I started my PhD. and now I'm the chair. I'm the chair of the conference. Last year we had over 30,000, between 30, yeah, 30,000.
Well, that's certainly encouraging, that number.
Right. But she had started the conference with the idea that by 2025, we would be at parity. And unfortunately, women have been disproportionately affected by the pandemic, right? I believe in December, 160,000 people lost jobs, and all of them were women. This also, it has affected women in tech even more so.
What do we do
yes.
to get the Department of Education and schools in general to take this more seriously, and especially for girls? And the other question I want to ask you about that is
time, because I've totally studied a lot of this. It's a whole systemic problem, and fortunately, there's a lot of people working on these different issues, like even before COVID. But I guess yes, it's major. There's major problems with. There's not enough teachers in computer science, or there's not enough certificates. Like, how do you get a teacher who, teaches math, or who could teach computer science, a teacher, right? Who can teach these courses in computer science for, K through 12, and how do you get them to switch because, you don't have your, certificate and, and things like that. And I think when I was in New York, there's an organization called CS for All, and they're the first to really try to get it statewide so that it's required. Our current CEO of AnitaB.org is Brenda Wilkinson, and she was the original founder of CS for All, where she was able to get Chicago, all of it's required to have computer science classes there.
I think Tim has a question for you.
Yeah, actually two things. First, I wanted to follow up on how so many women were dropping out of technology. And this is just me shooting from the hip here, so tell me if I'm right or wrong. In my experience, it seems that for two-income families with kids, it is just sort of assumed that if, the kids are stuck at home for a year, for example, that it's on the woman to give up her job to be there to take care of the kids. Do you think that's a big driving force behind the women dropping out, or are they actually being laid off?
So both, right? It's both. And there's so many reasons for this, because I've definitely studied about, why are we losing women? And it's not that we don't have women. We have women, right? At every stage of computer science education and industry, there are issues, for sure. There's major systemic bias, and mostly it's not actually because right now with the pandemic that women, there are cases that women definitely stay home to take care of their children, and they give up their job. But that was happening already before, because by the time women get to middle management area, then their male counterparts already have done better, we hear this over and over again, that women, and this is what I tell women, college students too, is that they should definitely spend another year and get masters so that they get ahead more. They have a little bit more traction when they have their careers, because it's harder to get promoted. So it's very common that men that they mentor will get promoted much faster or be paid much more money. And so that is mostly why women leave, because their promotion is not stable.
Right.
The environment is not conducive to that. And actually, now that there's already in live meetings, when you're all in person, it's harder to be heard. Right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of research on that, but it's even worse when it's only Zoom. So but for me, because I'm in artificial intelligence and I love data science and things, I think Zoom is another way. I mean, we can now quantify how much time was spent by women now talking, right? Who cut off who? There's actually research about how women cut off. I mean, women do interrupt each other more but it's in a positive way. Like, yeah, I remember that, or yeah, you did this, or, you know, I mean, we do cut and shut, you know, but not to silence or take over the conversation or to nullify what you say or to take your idea, you know. But I think we were trying to go back to, I mean, I have so many stories, but to be the silver lining, I think the hardest part really is addressing parents. And this is what I've been trying to do. I've taught with my research lab, Computing Savvy, we have been teaching young girls computing using like arts and crafts kinds of things, like paper circuits, making little soft robots, all different kinds of things, and basically teaching what I would teach the first 2 weeks of college students to do in just to break it down into these exercises, but in ways that that K through 12 art teachers, you know, could do with students. And so parents are really, so I've been working with parents and also with teachers to teach computer science education. And the hardest part is to convince parents or people in general that computer science is for women, right? That they can do it. I think right now everyone needs to know these things, and I think it's more believable that people should, you know, think that they should, that it's an integral part of their lives. I think the perception that computer science is only for someone like Steve Jobs, which is very unusual because Steve Jobs was not a computer scientist. He actually did program. I mean, that was the other Steve, right? And so, I mean, computer science and be a computer scientist means a lot of things now. It doesn't mean you're here typing. You know, I love that. I mean, not typing, but I love making things. I do a lot of stuff like that. So I'm fine with that. Like, I've been doing it since I was 6, but I would like to have more women or girls like me, you know. And what I've learned mostly, you know, by my experience going to Marlboro and trying to offer these internships is that actually by the time girls are 12, there's no way, I mean, it's very hard to convince them. And it's already done, right? It's not boys or anyone else telling them they can't do it by then. It's them already you know.
Right. They internalize the messages because there are, it seems to me, some cases of outright hostility. I have some friends who are game designers, male and female, and I remember the whole Gamergate fiasco from a few years back. And, you know, that's the kind of thing just blows my mind because, you know, I remember when I was in high school, I went to Brentwood School, not too far from Marlboro, and I'm older than you, so you know we were just, you know, when all this stuff was new, and we helped a teacher write a grant to set up a computer lab because the teacher didn't know what to say. And it's
also happening now, right? Yeah. I mean, I've worked with teachers like that too now, and it's not actually. I mean, so a lot of what I do is not so much trying to focus on new technology. What I love about tech is that it's always changing. And so I'm a forever learner, and I love that. That's like the mindset you need to have to really work in the area. I mean, in creating new technology and things like that. So that's exciting to me, but that's very hard, right? For a K through 12 teacher, it's very expensive, and things are always upgrading, right? Like, it's not, this is like the only thing our tech here is the only thing that we buy that we know is broken already, right? I mean, it has bugs. Like, we wouldn't want our car to have that, which brings me to my whole, as I mentioned earlier, my my dream job, which is that I didn't know I wanted, which is to be the transportation commissioner in Los Angeles and to learn about how AI is affecting a large scale, Google Maps, Waze, also all of the autonomous cars that are trying to come out, and wow, we don't have enough time. We have to have enough time. But to stay on the positive side, I mean, I think now is the perfect time to really reach out to teachers and parents about how to. I mean, it's something that Leah mentioned, Tim, that you're interested in too, is about bringing more, creativity, the arts together in education for K through 8. To me, I believe it doesn't have to be the actual tech, the actual computer, but definitely just like reading and writing and arithmetic, we need computing, and we need to have it as early as possible. It doesn't mean that small kids have phones, but definitely some understanding of algorithms, things like that. It's amazing when we've done these events at USC, my summer camps at USC for young girls, to have girls who are 8 years old, and we have them create like secret messages in binary code for them, and they learn it in 20 minutes, and I put them in teams and they try to decode it, and it's just so funny because they choose words like unicorn and Pokemon and
well, what you were saying about high school already being too late to engage the kids, and I'm seeing, because my granddaughter, who's just turned 12, when she was 6, 7, and 8, she desperately wanted into the coding classes that were being done, and they were saying, no, that's middle school. And I feel like we missed an opportunity with her because she didn't get a chance to engage when she wanted to, and now not so interested. And Mark and Dejana, I don't want to monopolize the questioning either. I know you probably both have questions you want to put out there.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, you were mentioning that you wanted to reach out to specifically teachers and parents, and I happen to fit both of those demographics. Mm-hmm. I am currently a middle school science or STEM teacher, so 11, 12, 13, that's my age group right there. And I'm also a parent of mm-hmm. students in that age group. And it's one of those things where I just wanted to ask you, I love engaging. I'm a lifetime learner, so I love, promoting lifetime learner lifestyle amongst my students. But as a practicing scientist, and I was in the field for a long time, I do have the baggage of being beat up in a STEM field as a woman and as a woman of color. And so sometimes I want to be super encouraging to the young women that I am mentoring, like, they can do this, you are a rock star. But in the back of my mind, I hurt because I recognize the systemic inequalities that they're going to have to push through in order to be successful in that field. And I just wonder, in your experience, are we addressing some of those issues that you brought up? Like, what can be done so that we're setting up these young women for success and not necessarily crazy hardship? Does that make sense?
No, I know. I mean, I definitely, amongst CS educators, especially for women and, other underserved populations, we talk about this. Is this unethical for us to be encouraging more? But I mean, again, this is the silver lining of the pandemic. Definitely IT people are now essential. Like, if my internet was down, that's it, right? Like, for me, even before my internet's down or my phone's down, that's it. I'm already upset. But yeah, I mean, people are solely living their lives off of this. People are getting deliveries. That's also their jobs, I've also done some work transportation and homelessness is connected. I didn't know these things, right? And so it's so large scale, it's a big problem, but homeless people, and I mean, in the city, in Los Angeles, transportation department has been trying to use its parking lots to help people with who are newly homeless and living in their cars to use the parking there, and college students. Like there was a large section that I was so surprised that it's college students, and of course now with the pandemic, even more so, it's women, because domestic abuse. Everyone's living at home, right? So domestic abuse is more, and there's
Yeah. Mark, did you have a question?
All right, I'm trying to
it's
say.
Okay, I just know we're gonna run out of time. We're down to 4 minutes. I didn't want to leave Mark out completely.
So, I mean, what I guess to answer your question is we need more people to create this technology, and we need more, definitely diverse people of all backgrounds to be able to do this, because for sure when technologies develop, biases by whoever creates it.
100%. Like AI. I was telling my students the other day, we need a diverse group of people because there's inherent biases in that. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm like, and you'll get paid $50,000 less than your male counterpart. So it's one of those things.
The bar is higher. That's why I'm trying to say also, like tech fields, and even before COVID, there is, in the tech industry, there is more flexibility in terms of you could work from home, right? Or you could have a flexible schedule.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of tech, like I think Facebook, Twitter, like a whole bunch of these tech companies have decided you don't have to come to work in person anymore, at least for the next few years. And so it's definitely it's
advantages.
A lot of things. And so
Mark, I'm trying to get you in there. Do you? You're gonna have to fight for time today.
Mark, it's on you.
I'm all good, but I want to have the side conversation with Dejana, once we're off. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So is it? What was I was trying to bring it back around to something positive.
Well, I love how you kind of put it back to the positive thing. Like the pandemic has drastically changed almost everybody's work industry, and we're using technology in different ways, and the tech good is actually providing access, like we're gaining accessibility and we're gaining access to things that we haven't had before. And at the same time, I think you've inspired me to be more optimistic about the whole situation in encouraging young girls. So we're going to get into those co-spaces. We're going to continue to
it's also
program and scratch and get excited and be creative, and know that there is a welcoming space for them. And even if it's not welcoming, it's a must, because we need them there.
That's what I'm trying to do with my summer camp. So I have created my own company, Cutest Robot, to do these summer camps and provide an all-girl camp experience. The ones that I did at USC, mostly I had started that as a way to help college women, because for sure college women are having, it's very harsh, and since the freshman level, maybe that's the highest level, then the people leave. We have a heavy attrition, but and so it was about trying to create an environment like that for women, the college women, and to teach the young girls. And it brought us all so much joy to see the young girls be so happy learning binary and making or whatever, doing whatever they do. And it was inspiring, also because the college women would tell the young girls who are 8 years old, like, I didn't learn that until I was in college, right? And they just learned it now. And
that's so powerful.
It was very, very powerful. So I think like for me, when I was 10, my parents sent me with my sister to community college and took a computing class for kids there. And we were the only girls there in the class. So I've taught classes like for Scratch, and what would happen is that there'd be 20 students. Everyone is fine. It's not a hostile environment at all. But there'd be only one girl, and she's fine. Everyone's fine. But by the middle of the semester or whatever, the parents would come and say, "Oh, we're sorry. All of her friends are taking cooking, so we're going to move her there." That's what gave me the idea to really do. I mean, it's needed. At some point, I think it's needed. I mean, mostly for the the young girls, mostly to help educate parents about how to support girls through.
That was really where we started. This was finding a way to support parents during, and once again we are out of time. It goes so fast.
It does. Doctor? I mean, I will talk more about this again to plug my event next week for We STEM LA, WI STEM LA Mayor's Initiative for supporting women in Los Angeles. So that's mostly for college women and women in
That's
industry.
where Tejada and I reconnected a few years ago.
At
this exact event. We were both on a panel.
Yeah, last year. This year's event is going to be virtual, and I think I have some. Well, we can publish some information about that as well.
Yeah.
Well, what can I say? I'm leaving this conversation hopeful and also curious. Like #lifetime learner. I need to get on it in terms of computer science and learn a little bit more as an educator on how I can create inspirational spaces for kids to explore in this realm. So thank you so much for sharing. I'm Dr. Tejada, my colleague over here, Dr. Leah. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of Teachers for Teachers. We hope to see you again next week.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Tim and Mark, for joining us. And thank you so much, Dr. Tejada.
Thank you for having me.